already done a much better job of protecting kids for several years than they haven't.
From what? Online? You mean online or what?
I mean, in terms of like how kids get used amongst the elite, like the Jeffrey Epstein files and shit.
Yeah.
Coming out,
Yeah.
they did some really demented shit.
Oh yeah. That's one of the reasons, going back to don't worry too much what we say online. Man, I ain't done any shit like that. That's and they don't worry about being considered bad people.
Guess what? It tells you that you're a good person now. And that's the crazy thing. It's always the politicians, and those are usually the people that are involved in the biggest dumb shit. And a lot of people think, oh, it's an over-exaggeration. Let me tell you something about human beings here. If I was a politician, I know for a fact I would have, if I wanted, I could make fuck you money if I wanted. Most people are going to succumb to all those temptations because they allow it. Like, it is literally allowed. Yeah. Like, Barack Obama literally made it legal through the Supreme Court to take unlimited amounts of cash from private donors and lobbyists and super PAC groups, and you don't even have to declare all the specific details related to it. You're just like, yeah, we made a charitable donation to the DNC. And I'm thinking, man, what could the DNC be doing for you, Bill Gates? That's worth $80 million.
Oh, that was miss. That's fine. Yeah, no joke. Yeah.
I'm glad Trump won, and I actually was. I voted for him. Definitely wanted him to win, but I will say, in terms of my beliefs on politics, I don't think that Elon Musk should be allowed to give Donald Trump $150 million to run. But at the same time, though, I also understand that Kamala Harris.
Yeah, the other side was doing it too,
if not worse. Absurd amounts of money. So I get it, but I'm saying both sides shouldn't be allowed to do that. Really,
yeah, I agree.
Trump would have had a bigger advantage if you couldn't allow money in politics. He would have beat her even worse.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Oh, it's true.
Okay, I think you need to go there.
Kamala Harris wasn't electable at all. She's the worst president.
Wasn't what?
She wasn't electable.
So if you go there and I give you that.
I just don't think Kamala Harris is smart at all. I just don't see her having a brain.
What the hell are you doing, dumbass?
I can't understand how these people find their lives satisfying.
Yeah, it wouldn't appeal to me.
I'd literally rather
Kill the castle first.
I'd rather be penniless than be one of those politicians.
Good girl knows.
There's no person worse than a person who has the capabilities to help someone.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like if someone needs, if like let's say a single mom was in an abusive relationship and grew up with no parents, trying to feed her family screws me over in life. I prefer you didn't. I get it. But you know where I'm going with that.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
Okay, so okay, I can force the bishop. The more appropriate move. So if I go there, and then you go there. Let's just do that. You're a good girl, Nose. Yeah, good game.
You know, to be honest with you, I haven't played poker in so long. The last time I played a game, I played.
You have to.
I played
Just make the
Baccarat in Vegas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is nice.
You want to know
This
the
is
reason
nice.
I played Baccarat?
What's up?
Is because I feel like it's a straightforward game. And I feel like I have better chance to win.
Baccarat?
Yeah. Than a lot of other games. Yeah, like I ain't ever going and putting money in slot machines, for example.
Yeah, I never would either.
But I mean, so I know that a lot of people that have been banned from casinos,
Right.
like in Vegas, like some of the best high rollers, it seems like a lot of times they get to casinos by playing Baccarat. Of course, sometimes they play other games too. But I know like Dana White is like a hell of a Baccarat player.
Is there skill to that game?
The Baccarat?
What do you mean? Like he plays it a lot or he's good at it?
Yeah, so hold on. Because anytime I explain, I'm so much more knowledgeable when it comes to like sports gambling and all that shit than I am all these other games. I feel like I'll butcher it. Okay. In Baccarat, players bet on which hand the players, or the bankers, will be closest to none. The hand with the highest total wins, or it's a tie if they're equal. And my boss, Casey, who's around my age, who's a freaking millionaire, and he owns our company, but he was like, sit down, please. I was like, dude, I ain't gonna know how to play this. He's like, dude, you will literally be able to make sense of this, like, as soon as you sit down and I tell you how easy it is. Of course, you got to get used to the flow of things and all that, but the concept's easy.
I mean, I've seen it. I dealt by it and watched when my table was dead, but
like,
I never played it.
Closest to 9, that seems really straightforward.
Yeah.
And it seems like there would be skill in that, right? Because you have to go over probability because you have to choose on between. You have to choose which the players would make.
Let's go play a few hands. I've got to see some stuff. I didn't expect them to put me on the floor tomorrow, so let's do it.
Because a lot of times the dealer just fucking beats you and makes you mad. At least you have a chance to bet on the dealer's hand.
At Baccarat?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the table odds of Baccarat? If you play, I'm assuming there's like a book too, like you have to play properly and stuff.
Yeah, well, and I know, so this guy's kind of hacky in a lot of ways, but I will give him credit. He is pretty damn good at poker and shit.
E6, I thought about that. Say that last part of that sentence.
Mickey Mace.
Mickey Mace is the name?
Yeah, that's his name. He's like a high roller gambler, but he's like very good at. He's like been kicked out of several casinos, but he says Baccarat's, in his opinion, is the best game. What'd you say for the odds? What'd you say?
What are the odds of Baccarat if you play by the book? You already ate your food, babe. I'll get you some more later.
Okay. In Baccarat, the baker's hand will win 45.8% of the time.
Oh, that
slightly higher than the player's hand at 44.6. Ties win 9.6% of the time. And factoring out the tie, the banker's hand wins about 51% of the time. This 1% may be very marginal on average, but it's slightly better than coin flip odds.
No,
you seem like you would be really good at doing mathematical probabilities off the top of your head quick.
I mean, because I'm an ad chess player, which is most, and I put a lot of time into it, but I've also been doing it distracted between shots, so Yeah, I would say so. And I worked in tech,
What
which
do you
is
think your
a lot of men.
strongest subject is of all the things you learned?
What do you mean? Like hobbies or?
Like social skills, like reading and writing, the best subject for you? Like what type of skills, like mathematics, science? What do you like the most?
It's my sparkling personality, Ashton.
Huh?
It's my sparkling personality. As you know, we share the same last name, so specifically sarcasm.
Yeah, but I still feel like you are good at articulating yourself and being cordial. You're well spoken.
Sure.
I mean,
Here,
yes, being in management, you kind of had to do that.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't in management, but that was where my life was going. Had it not been for COVID and ridiculous leadership.
Oh, so you didn't have to manage anyone at least?
Well, I got to like train a few support teams, and the last one basically from scratch. But I never had people reporting to me. It would have been like a test, but COVID never ended, and corporate has no soul. So now I'm going to be a chess streamer.
Hell yeah.
We'll just like that Grok ad, man. I don't know. I would hate to like. I'm not above being mean, especially if like a company's paying my bills and stuff, or if I had kids. But if there's no guarantee, and you want me to be a prick or hurt someone who doesn't deserve it, that what if they want to get me one day or they matter? Like that's just stupid, even selfishly. When I've seen 50-year-old good men, I don't think I had any female mentors that got impacted in mass layoffs, but I had some mentors. I'm like, they were good. They were way better than me just off experience. I mean, they've seen more things. They're 20 years more experience. And no one even really told them bye. And you want me to be your you know what? Like, come on now. Then you're going to screw me anyway after I've screwed people for you? Nuh-uh. Bummer. What am I doing?
I did want to,
That's an interesting move, Max.
about something. So,
Very interesting move.
I was in Salem, so for my birthday, we didn't go on my actual birthday, but we went on the weekend a couple days after my birthday. But me and Theo, for the first time, left the kids for 24 hours. Like they had not been alone for more than, like they always had at least one of us there every single day. So we went to Salem, dropped the kids off with my parents, and then Aunt Shelly actually went out to my parents' house at like 8 a.m. to help out with the babies, which kind of shocked me because she never is on time or gets up that early. But before I left, she ended up talking to me for a little bit. But she said something about one day, I don't know how long ago it was, but she tried to, or she reached out to you or something about maybe getting together and just, I don't know, maybe eating or something. And then it fell through or something.
She didn't reply for like a month, and then I forgot to reply now that you mentioned it.
Well, yeah, so that's what she said. She was like, we miss dating. We understand as you kids get older. She said that you got, work going on.
As you 30-year-old men, as you 30-year-old men get older.
Yeah. But
why did you do that?
She told me, she's like, you need to start taking more breaks and start dropping the kids off more and blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, I'm trying to. I said, now that they're getting a little older, they're easier to do long car rides with. But I told Aunt Shelly, I said, I wouldn't be worried about Dayton being really mad at you, Aunt Shelly. I said, Dayton's the type of, Dayton at this point in his life, I said, he's the type of person, if he has a problem with you, he's going to let you know.
Well, I just forgot.
That's what I'm saying.
Because if I like the way I hate text messaging. I'll schedule times. Like I have a reoccurring meeting with several friends where I just call them. If they don't answer, I assume they're with their wife. I assume they're work came up and I'll call them the next month, no problem. But I cannot do I have to have a conversation end.
I feel you.
And so when I don't hear back for like weeks, literally that's what it was. I'm just like, okay.
I hear you. I like to do audio recording sometimes.
Yeah. How many? What's my streak?
If I can't call, I'm telling you my problem.
Why can't I see my?
I used to talk on the phone a lot more, but by the time I work and get home,
Is that what I'm at
I
now?
start helping my kids.
Surely that's not 6.
My wife, I wish she would Rode a bunch all day. And I'm like, well, yeah, I need you.
How do I do this?
But I mean, she watches my kids, and I'm thankful that she does. We sacrifice some money just for that reason, because I am not trusting of the world. I don't want my kids going anywhere.
Yeah, it's sad, but you're right. We're 5. Oh man.
There's very few people I would trust to watch my kids. It would be like
Nova.
my parent. I'd trust Nova.
Nova will kill somebody. She's very protective.
But yeah, like my dad, my mom, obviously, Aunt Shelley, you, and I saw a video the other day. I trust Aiden watching my kids more than I would Andrew.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah, I'm good with kids. Well, don't say that.
I don't care.
Hey, you know how to play chess?
Oh, no.
All right. This is a bot. I mean, you'll beat him. Everyone that stays, I'll make them play Jimmy. Here, I'll walk you through. You'll beat him in 2 minutes. There you go. Well, you'll beat him in 2 minutes. You want to play E4 for your first move? Is that fine?
How would I beat him in 2 minutes if I don't even know?
Well, because he's a beginner bot that also doesn't know how to play. He'll give you his queen and stuff.
He'll beginner bot whoop my ass probably.
No, he's a piece of shit.
I mean, I can always try.
Just off our conversation earlier. All right. This is my cousin Ashton. He's going to beat up Jimmy real quick with my assistance if he needs it. All right, so E4, he played pawn. One of the most common lines is knight F3, but basically your opening principle is you want to control center and get your king out of the center of the board.
Hold on, so did you move first or he?
Yeah, you moved, well, you moved E4. And then
Okay, I was just making sure.
Yeah, so this is what happened. And probably the most common move is that. But it's not the only move at all.
Hold on, so you said, hold on, this one to here?
Yeah, because you can attack his pawn. So knight F3 is then going to threaten his pawn. And he has to, that's fine. That's fine. That would be some form of a gambit. I guess that would be the king's gambit.
So is there a typical layout how a beginning of a game usually looks with almost every game? Or
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at the top level, they'll play probably more different things.
so is this what it's recommending or something? Why they have green or gray circles or
not
what?
at all. No, that's just where your pawn could move. It can move 1 or 2 squares.
But it can only go forward?
Yes.
It can't go side
That's
or
correct.
Okay. And then so the king, that can move what?
One
side by
square any direction if unblocked.
Okay. And then the queen can go any direction?
Here, what's up?
The queen?
Queen can go any direction, any number of squares as long as not blocked.
Okay. I was just making sure because
You're right.
just no. And then this bad boy here.
Horizontally or vertically, any number of squares as long as it's not blocked.
So in a situation like this, is it still you need to move these pieces
Yes.
still?
You'd want to activate your other pieces by moving mainly your pawns. That's fine.
I don't know. Maybe I should have went and took the whole center, huh?
You could go either way. Just a matter of strategy. Sure. Okay, so
Hey,
obviously,
beginner bot, you're moving shit you're not supposed to.
well,
move.
yeah, but it's going to be good though because the objective is to capture your king. So how can you block the queen's path to your king?
So yeah, you block him, cut him off here,
Yes.
and then he can knock me off, though, right?
Where could he knock you off at?
So if I move here, can
With
he move
your,
diagonal?
so you're saying move G pawn to G3?
Or I'm saying move, yeah, whatever. This piece here, or this piece here, or actually, you can't move that one there.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Good job.
So only this one.
Yep. So what did you mean when you said he could knock you off?
Like what I was thinking was if I moved here, he could just, I don't know, somehow. Poof.
Well, he can't. He's under attack because otherwise you would have taken the queen, right? So if he doesn't move, the game is over because the opponent wants the queen. So
why would he already be moving the queen so early?
because he's not very good, and sometimes you're provoking these pawns because now your king is not going to be as safe this way. So it's not always bad to provoke pawns. But to your point, Jimmy has no idea what he's doing. Okay.
Okay.
So now is where you would probably want to move one of your knights just to have some coverage of the board.
Okay.
Sure. That's a good move.
So typically, how many pawns do you move before you start going to your knights? Like it's just three?
Anywhere from 1 to 3.
Yeah.
Some openings you can even move knights first.
Is that like
it's getting a little more advanced at that point? It's a more flexible option. But you would want to do
so
that.
this knight here, knights you said can go forward and back.
They can go up to over 1 like an app.
Up to over 1.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
So a knight would be if a knight is here on this rail board, double back up it.
Mm-hmm.
Then it can go.
See, I'm thinking like up to over 1. I'm thinking, 1, 2.
Yeah. So the black knight could end up there. It could end up there. It could end up there.
Okay.
And it could end up back there. Yeah.
But then he would obviously he would get his shit taken if he did something like that, right?
Yeah.
But
well, he could occupy that, but it's not a concern. Like if I were you, I would consider either moving your G knight to F3 or your C1 bishop to E3.
Okay, there's F3.
It's a fine move. Yeah. There you go.
And then when does it make sense? Do I need to move pawn? So if do you want to keep trying to advance these pawns, or do you still like to keep a couple back just to make sure you have reinforcements?
I would keep a couple back until a little later. Yeah.
And then
it's a very committal thing to push that many pawns early. It's not always bad, but it is committal.
So when do you start moving these? When it's more desperate? Or
your queen generally moves last, so you probably want to move one of your bishops. And if you move your light bishop, I would probably move it to G2. And if you move your dark bishop, I would probably move it to E3. Either way is fine.
On the bishop, which one?
The bishop is the piece next to your king and next to your queen.
No, this one?
That's your king.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell. Man, to me, like when I look at that, I think king off the top of my head for some reason.
Oh yeah.
So this is?
That's a bishop. Yep. That's a fun move. Yep.
And what is the bishop allowed to do again?
Any number of squares diagonally unless blocked.
Okay, so if he's blocked, but can I skip him and go here?
Well, not jump over. Good question. The only piece that can jump over things is your knight.
Okay.
But he did make a blunder because he's a beginner bot, and he's threatening your bishop, right? So his bishop could attack you.
Okay, so I want to move this direction.
Well, hold on, because if you take his bishop, does he have anything?
Oh yeah, I can take his bishop, huh?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
So he just blundered his bishop.
Okay.
Yeah. The beginner bots are very good practice.
It seems like, though, I mean, just even for me playing this, dude, it seems like if you were playing two people that were really, really knowledgeable, it would seem like it would be like so tedious and like a game of like inches. Like,
yeah,
just fucking back and forth, people running, coming back to attack, running again.
Yeah.
Okay. Move this guy here.
I would. So once a game, and I'll give you this move because it's a weird rule with chess. Mm-hmm. So to get your king safe, because when it's in the center of the board, there's more ways it can be attacked. Of course, it's safer now
on
that
the corner.
Yeah. So you get that option once.
So if this is available on the next move, could it technically move all the way to the corner?
Correct. It could. The king could.
So then, what's the one piece that can knock it off if it's cornered here? If you have a pawn there, or whatever, like would the person have to get to this spot with a certain
if your king were here
on the H, yeah.
If your king were here,
yeah, and since you run out of real estate, like would it take a specific piece to be able to knock it off because you're limited on the directions you can go?
Good question. So one of the reasons, even though your pawns are kind of pushed, it's fine, is Jimmy moronically blundered his bishop. And if the bishop were controlling a diagonal kind of like yours is, then you would have to worry about it opening up and getting to your king. But since that bishop is not going to be able to control the diagonal because it doesn't exist, you could eventually be there and be fine. There's no long range threats to it.
That's cool that you can do that.
Yeah. You mean draw the arrows?
Yeah.
Yeah, technology's crazy.
Okay, so what were you saying? Should go bishop?
You have your choice because, of course, you want to recapture that pawn. Otherwise, you lost a pawn. So you could
do it now.
It's a matter of strategy, whichever. So if you think, basically the question is, if you think you can protect your king, taking with the G pawn is arguably better because then you have a bunch of pawns in the center.
So taking it with what you said?
If you took with your G pawn instead of taking with your bishop, because there's two ways you can capture it, right?
Okay. Oh, yeah, because you can go diagonal with that.
Yeah. Now, the advantage of taking with your bishop is you keep pawns in front of your king.
So after I take this one, though, what does this leave me vulnerable to?
Not much right now.
Oh, yeah, because he's all the way back here.
Yeah, I mean, he would have to, and you have pieces that can pull back to protect your king, so.
Oh, do I have to go here?
Yeah, so you'd want to take on f4 with either your pawn or your bishop. It does not matter.
Okay. Oh, I'm with my pawn. F4?
Yeah, so sure. So take your pawn or bishop and drag it over that pawn.
Oh, I just got to drag it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, that pawn. That pawn can capture diagonally.
Which one?
The G pawn.
Oh, here.
There you go. Yeah. That's good. And see, now, long-term strategy, you have some pawns in the center.
I just need to remember all the directions everything can move, and I feel like I'd be able to start learning it.
Yeah, that's where
faster.
LSS is good because it won't let you make wrong moves.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they do a good job.
So in real life, you accidentally make a wrong move. What happens? You lose your piece and then get penalized somehow?
Illegal move, and you have to move that piece that you touched.
Does it ever happen where someone makes an illegal move and no one catches it?
A little, like when I was beginning, if someone didn't want to report it, I guess so. But no, I mean, at a real tournament, you're going to not get away with a lot. There's arbiters that have taken classes, and they're very good.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
That's a fun move. Oh, shoot. Yeah, you lost your bishop. That's okay. Good practice.
Okay.
So he took the bishop. You basically did what Jimmy did.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine because you're going to win.
Well, my concern now is, so is it pretty much this pawn's going to be a goner? Or what?
No, that pawn. Good question. No, because you're how many ways are you defending that pawn? With what pieces, I should say, are defending that pawn? Your king is one. Your king is saving that pawn right now.
Yeah, see, that's why I got to remember all the moves, that directions that they can go. So you said they can go 2 and then over 1?
The knight? The queen?
Or yeah, the queen, I mean.
The queen can go any number of squares, any direction, unless.
Okay, and then the king is the one that can go 2 and over?
The knight.
Oh, the knight.
Yeah.
So what's the king's move?
Look at the king can just go 1 square, so it can go there if the queen weren't there.
Okay.
And look at the queen as.
It seems like the name is a little
like
overrated then.
Yeah, maybe so. Like the rook and the bishop had a baby.
I think the king's supposed to have all the juice.
And it's the queen. So the bishop. Which bishops go diagonally, rooks go.
The king's supposed to have sex slaves.
Okay.
Gosh.
So let me just let's do
powerful.
So often when it's maybe not as strong a player, or if you're winning, or if you're under attack, which you are right now, it's not bad to try to trade stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to go here, you are attacking the queen and chasing the queen away. But so if the knight were there, the queen now has a free pawn. So that would be something to look at. So let's say I went here with my knight. I'm threatening the queen as white, but I do give this target, and that's a pretty important pawn that I would lose for free because the queen cannot see through the bishop to protect that pawn.
I almost feel like to be elite at this game, you almost have to have some sort of like kind of a photographic memory, like to be able to forecast what's going to take place later. Because, dude, if you don't have any vision of where things were going to end up, you're kind of just, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happened there means because that pawn was pushed 2 squares, Jimmy just gave, or he relinquished control over the b5 square because the a6 pawn on a6 could control that. So a reasonable move to exploit that weakness he just created would be knight to b5.
Well, you said knight to b5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're giving your knight more control, and you're creating a threat. Okay, and this is where. So Jimmy put you in check. Show me to which piece. So the queen is checking your king, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you cannot do anything with your king under attack. So can you remove the threat, which is the queen? Can you capture the queen?
No, not yet, right? Or I don't know. This is the only. This one can't go over, right?
Yeah, your knight cannot reach it.
Yeah.
So
And
what's the
then
only
this
other
can't-
piece? Yeah, keep working through it. Good job.
Oh, so you can?
Well, so your king could, that would be your next bet. Your king could hide, but first, can we capture the threat?
I need to move here. I don't know. I don't know how you capture it.
Pawns capture diagonally, so you're correct.
Okay.
So take that pawn and remove the queen. You're correct.
Hold on, but where can I go though? There's my other piece here diagonal, and I don't have a pawn here or here.
Yep, but right now all we care about, if the board were completely empty, if you can visualize the board being completely empty, all you have is your king, the black queen, and that pawn. Nothing else matters besides those three.
So I'm supposed to move it.
Well, you would not be allowed because you
Move
have to
that,
protect your king. So you have two options. You can run your king away, but before you do that, it would be better to take his piece. That's going to hurt your king.
So I know, but I'm getting at is, so you're taking it with a pawn?
Yeah.
But if I have something diagonal here, but I have something taking up this piece, where can I jump them at? Because I don't have
Taking
a
up
person
which
here or
piece?
here. So in order to knock this off, you have to be able to move this diagonally, correct?
Yes, and you can do that.
Even with I have a piece already in the spot?
Well, his piece is in that spot. You don't have a piece. Jimmy has a piece there, and you can capture diagonally.
Oh, okay.
I should have explained that. That's my fault.
See, well, and I also have this simpleton mentality where I'm thinking of skipping the.
Oh,
the
like checkers.
Yeah.
Because you play checkers and not chess. That's actually funny. I'm sure I did that when I was starting too. Okay, so now he's panicking. And go very slow here. You can figure this out. You have two good moves. One is better.
Okay. So I can move diagonal and accept that this pawn get taken.
Yes, but you're also taking the knight, so you would.
It's worth it, right?
Yeah. Look at a pawn as 1 point and a knight is 3, so you just gain 2. Okay, now this is where you get a little bit more advanced.
Okay, and this is where the knight can do what again?
Moves in the shape of an L.
But like the literal shape of an L, or both directions? Okay.
Any direction. So your options for the knight would be it can move here, it can move here, it could move here, it could move there. Or what did you say?
Oh man, I was thinking like L is in go here and take this.
Oh, I see. No.
But it has to go over another space.
But you're on the right track. So the knight move is the correct move.
But I can take out this pawn.
Which one?
This one. And
you
go
could,
in an L.
But what would happen if you did?
He would take my knight with his pawn, but then I would end up taking his pawn with my pawn.
And then,
but would it be worth it? Though?
It would be an even trade. Well, depending on the sequence, it would be an even trade. But do you have a pawn of blacks you can capture without getting your knight taken? It's the only option I didn't show with the arrows.
Hold on, you're saying I can still take something now or prepare to take it?
You can. Good question, and that's a good way to think about it. You can take it right now.
Okay.
With your knight, sorry.
Oh yeah, with the knight.
Yep.
Okay, so
You're close with your idea of taking on
Well, I can't
D6.
because I couldn't go this way because I don't have enough space
Correct.
to go that way.
Good job.
So I can go here, right? If I wanted,
Which one?
or to
Show
go
me-
here
show me
and
the
take
square.
the pawn.
Yeah. So we
From
looked
here.
at that, but then you would lose your knight, just like we described. You don't want to lose your knight
And
only get a pawn, but you're close.
But for some, well, shit, you ain't got any pieces down here, so I'm trying to think what direction I could move.
Right.
What I could move the knight in.
So generally the biggest weakness in terms of pawns is a backwards pawn because it is not protected by another pawn. This is a backwards pawn for black. So look at it this way. Can I flip the board? Will it even let me? I don't know if it will. So if you were to take that pawn, of course you get taken, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you were to take the only other pawn you're able to move your knight to take, how could Jimmy take that knight if you took on c7?
Yeah.
You never played chess?
Well, and then I'll be sitting here to where he can get me with his knight.
Yep, and before you make that move, that is the correct move, and you were right in your explanation. But what will happen once the knight is there? Will it be attacking the king?
If the knight is here, will it be attacking the king?
Yep, draw that arrow.
No, it wouldn't be, right? Because it doesn't have enough space, because it'll take this spot, right?
It'll be there, yep. So imagine.
Or actually, no,
imagine
it could, right?
So that will be called a check, which will freeze black, and black will have to move the king.
So go here, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And now that's called a fork because see, you were not only attacking the king, which forced it to move, simultaneously, you were hitting the black rook, which you now get for more or less free. Very good.
But so then now at this point, since whenever you have to move this knight, you have to go so many pieces. You can't just go conservative and go one spot up. Do you typically safe here for a little bit and then start moving these pieces?
Good question. The question I would ask as a beginner is that knight actually there? So right now, it's trapped-ish because it only has two options. And of course it gets taken there. It could go there and then it would be free.
Well, if he comes after me, wouldn't in this corner, wouldn't he just be cornering himself? Because then I can start moving my pieces toward him and cornering him, right?
A little bit, yep. Yep. But also, since he moved that pawn, you don't automatically have to move that knight out, though it wouldn't be awful. You can consider what would happen if you take this pawn before trying to maneuver your knight. Yep. So now you've created a threat to Jimmy's knight. Okay. Go nice and slow on this one.
So what he will do is he will take this guy, right?
Good way to look at it. What would happen if he did take on a2 with his knight? Do you have it covered?
Yeah, my brain's a breaking sometimes.
Well, you never played chess before, so your rook does cover a2, which means if that.
Oh, you're saying like it protecting this too?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, exactly. The correct way to word it. So you do have an option since you are winning by so much. Always make it simpler. So can you capture his knight? What piece is currently threatening the black knight of yours, which is white?
This one, or not this one.
This
one here.
Nope. So if the pawns are blocked, they cannot advance. So the knight is blockading the B pawn, but your dark bishop sees black's knight.
This one here goes diagonal.
That's correct.
Okay.
So, yep. Without hesitation, when we're winning, we always want to simplify. Yep.
Hell yeah. And then.
Only diagonal.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I blocked.
So you do have options. So now you could consider pushing that pawn.
But the pawns only go forward.
That's correct. If they get all the way across, kind of like in checkers, they can promote to a queen. So kind of like king me in checkers,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then if you get 2 queens to Jimmy 0, of course you win.
So it's like a big no-no to allow someone to get that far across
That's
the
correct.
board.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, once they get to the 6, it's a big problem. And if a pawn's on the 7th, you could argue it's kind of
Well, so and
as strong
then
as a rook.
so let's say the queen that you have that you start out the game with, like your actual classified queen, not making it into a queen, your actual queen. Let's say you get a pawn to the other side
Mhm.
and it does get queened. Can I then start to use my queen that I started the game out with more aggressively? Because I know that if you you lose the game, right? If you lose the queen, but you just queened
If
a pawn.
if you lose the king, you lose the game.
Oh yeah, sorry. Lose the king, you lose the game. But, well, I don't know.
You got plenty of options.
So if you lose the queen, though, are you in pretty bad shape, though,
Yeah,
usually?
yeah. Especially, I mean, you wouldn't be because he already lost his queen, but generally,
Yeah.
yes. So you could move that pawn. Sure. And now he has to use his king to defend that. I guess he didn't have to.
Or, no, can't he go diagonal with this piece? Can he go diagonal with this piece and knock this off?
With the bishop or the king? No,
Yes,
well,
yeah.
the king can move diagonally, but only one square.
It's crazy that the most important, the most important piece that literally makes or breaks you is only can move one space, but I guess in real life though, the person at the top, the oligarch at the top, doesn't really do much. They just sit in power.
Yeah.
And twiddle their
And
thumbs.
harass people during Dr. Approved LOAs to get their bonus. I've heard they do that. So right now, if you were, the first thing to look at, since your pawn is close to promoting, would be what would happen if you push your pawn one square further?
So I was thinking, so if he's with this pawn and I move here, he's going to be screwed if he moves here, but I don't know. I don't even, I'm trying to think where I'm actually threatened. Take that one.
You can do that. Okay, so now what you can do, the first thing to look at again, so you should have taken with the bishop, but it's fine.
Can I move this knight here?
Sure.
Because I'm anticipating that I'm going to get him to move this way to where I can use this pawn to knock it up. Well, I don't know.
Yep. Take with your knight there.
Okay,
what if you did? Let's say, why do I want you to take with your knight before you do it? What are the advantages?
So
always try to think 2 moves ahead, but never more when you're starting.
So I suppose it would be after you take this piece, you have the luxury to, once you're up to make another move, you can go here. Or if a piece ends up,
Yep. So a great way to put it. If the knight is there, it protects that pawn, which that pawn is currently being threatened by the dark bishop. So if the knight is on f4,
but so man, why isn't there something popping up to move this? Or because I can only go straight ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct. They can only capture diagonally. They cannot move diagonally.
Well, the weird thing is to me, it's like, why? I figured in my head, I was like, all right, I'm just going to take that.
Well, so just for practice, you could take that. Actually, you could take. How could you take on b4 with your knight, thinking 2 moves ahead for practice?
So by going.
No, with your knight. Think about moving your knight.
Oh no, sorry.
So what squares could your knight attack b4 from? There's only 2.
So I go this way.
You could. So you could go to c2, correct? But but also the other way is just the same thing in the other direction. So knight to c6, right? If our goal is strictly to win that pawn, we're not worried about winning the chess game. We're just practicing. Would knight to c2 or would knight to c6 be better just to win that pawn, and why? You're winning that pawn in 2 moves regardless.
Well, I would say that it's probably better to go to 6 because you're protecting your pawns with your knight.
That is the correct answer, and that's a fine reason. The main reason is that comes with check.
Oh, okay.
So you have saved yourself a move because you're forcing the opponent to move the king. So during that move, while you're threatening the pawn, the opponent can't make any relevant moves to improve the position. And now you get the pawn anyway. Whereas had you moved back to get the pawn, the opponent might have been able to do something that's annoying to you.
And then
Yep. Now, again, our goal was to win that pawn. Don't worry about being correct or anything. So go ahead and win the pawn.
now I'm going to go back
Good job.
here.
Yes.
And then next, or never mind.
Mhm.
I forgot he made moved. Okay. I want to start putting pressure on these pawns with this pawn.
That's one thought. Hold on. So always look for checks, which of course a check is when you threaten the king.
Mm-hmm.
If there are no checks, then you would look for captures like you were showing. So do you have any checks first? Take your time.
No.
Take your time.
Do I? Or
Start with your most powerful piece because it's the most flexible. Can you reach it with your? Can you check the king with your queen?
hold on. So you're gonna check the king with my queen?
Yeah. Can you do that?
Oh. Yeah, you said it can go anywhere?
Yeah. Any number of squares as long as it is not blocked by your pawn or an opponent's material.
Blocked as in being in a square right next to it?
Yes. In front of it. Yeah.
But if any open squares, it'll still let it go, or
That's
if
correct.
Okay.
So what's the only square your queen can move to that reaches the king? So you want your queen to see the king. It has to be a light square, of course, because the king is on a light square.
Yeah, earlier I was thinking that I was a king earlier for some reason. I don't know why. But these are the only options that it's giving me, but you said it can move anywhere.
Yeah, well, it's giving you those dots too. So it is showing.
So you're saying to put pressure on his king. So can I just knock his king off and go straight to his?
Well, you can check him.
By just going right next to him?
No, because there's a good way to look at it. The answer is because your pawn is in front of your queen, so you cannot do that. Because your queen cannot jump over
so
pawns.
it's even if it's a couple spaces ahead, you can't surpass your pawn?
Correct. Whether it's right next to it or on the other side of the board, you cannot go past it. You can't jump over it. So look at the open paths to the so since there's a pawn there, the open paths to the king would be if you get there, you could check the king, but that pawn prevents you from leapfrogging to b5.
So could I do this to where I go here and set it up, move here next?
That would be a longer way to attack the king.
Or here, I mean?
Well, you can't reach there yet.
Oh, yeah, because the pawn.
Yep.
So should I just move the pawn out of the way?
Sure.
Or
with the anticipation to go queen to b5?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. That'd be fun. And now you have pawns that are together. Okay, so now you could do that, but keep in mind your knight is going to be lost if you don't protect it.
Okay, I need to knock this off.
Well, if you could.
So,
but also if you check them, what happens? Everything is froze if you check. So the queen check, which you were already planning to do with that pawn push, is still very good.
So what if I move this pawn and then move this knight this way?
Go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, now, could have taken your knight, but since he didn't, can you win that bishop? There are two ways to do it. So, of course, hold on. That is correct. That is correct. Yeah. That would be the best. But for practice, let's go ahead and check with our queen first, as we were going to. You're correct, but I just want you to see this.
Yeah, for sure.
So go ahead and give that check we were planning to give.
We were going here, right?
Yeah. So it's froze. and now the bishop is still in trouble, right? So now, if you wanted to, you could take the bishop with your queen and keep your pawns working together. Because otherwise, your pawns would have been on top of each other, which
Yeah,
makes
so this king, it can only go just one spot.
Yeah, that's
back
correct.
and forth.
Yep. So
Yeah,
now
that
you
sucks.
Yep. So
for
now
them.
yeah. So now you could take with your queen, but just to practice, can you check the king again?
Mm. So I don't want to go here because it can go up one spot.
Yeah, then it could take your queen, correct?
I'd go here though, right?
Well, you would still lose your queen, but you could go there legally, yes.
Oh, so he can go side one piece?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I want to go here then
With your knight or with your queen?
with my queen.
That would not check the king. But if you moved your knight there, would it check the king? Just similar to that fork where we got the rook, where
Mhm.
same concept. So that would be a plausible solution.
Well, but like, you mean by checking the king, like keeping him still where he can't make any
Yeah.
moves, right?
So the knight would do that.
But if I'm using the queen and I'm going, here, for example,
Mhm.
I mean, in a way, well, I mean, I guess it doesn't completely put him in check because he can still move over
Yep.
one other spot. But I mean, doesn't that just eventually it's going to lead to his demise?
It will, but it's always good to check if you can.
Okay, so but you're saying I got to do it with the knight?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go here because, or no, I'd go here, right?
If your
Because
goal is
the
to
next
check the
move-
king, that knight cannot check the king. Only this knight can check the king.
Oh, why is that?
Because you have to. What squares can you check the king from with the knight? Only there
Well,
or
so
there.
I was thinking this here, and then if he stays put, or well, no, it'd only go to there.
Yeah, exactly. So the other knight is the answer.
Okay, so I want to go. Yeah, but I mean, but even if I move this knight here, he still technically could even move here, right? Because I still have to
That
go
knight
in
would
an
go-
L form.
Yeah, the knight would go there instead of there.
I go here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Now you're checking. Yep. So now the advantage to that move is when you take the bishop with the queen, you freeze the king again. Whereas previously, had you taken with the queen, it would not have come with check. So now you can take the bishop and check.
So in this case, would it be wise to just queen this pawn?
What would happen if you do? The answer is no. But what would happen if you do?
If this gets queened,
Yes.
couldn't I be more aggressive to where? But that would also prevent me from being able to make more moves, right?
Well, it would allow the black bishop to escape the threat it's currently in, and the black bishop would capture.
So, I mean, so is there really not a ton of tactical advantage? Like, so if this thing is here and you have the option, well, actually, the reason why you go ahead and try to attack this is because nothing's threatening that anyway. So you can get that queen later regardless.
Yeah, well, so go ahead and take the bishop with the queen.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is you are going to promote that pawn, but let's take the bishop first and then promote the pawn. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
With the queen instead, but that's fine too. That's fine too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because he'll, or no?
No, it's fine. Yeah.
And then he went here.
So, yeah.
But
So you use the knight and the queen to attack.
And he can't go diagonal.
Well, you can.
Or no, he can go over
that's
one
correct.
space,
Good,
right?
good. Nope, he can go as many as he needs. So go diagonal, but don't just stop at one space.
So make sure I'm going like
Yeah.
here.
Yep. And why can you do that? Because the knight is protecting the queen. That's why the king cannot take. Because let me draw an arrow real quick. So.
Oh yeah, because if he takes my shit, he's gonna get.
Yeah. So he
got.
legally can't. Yes. There you go.
Hmm.
And now.
It's actually, I kind of feel like a dickhead for, like, I never hate on anyone that has a hobby and enjoys something, but I always was like, oh, dude, this is just too much. I don't see how this could be any fun, but I could see how it could be a little fun.
Yeah. So now you have two options. So it's always good to bring another piece in on the attack if you can. So can you take Jimmy's pawn and put him in check? So that would, the pawn would take, but it would not put him in check. So what's the other way you could take that pawn?
With this?
Go back. Go all the way back.
Oh, to here? Oh,
Or your rook, sorry. Yeah, your rook.
Oh, yeah, and you said it can go how many spaces?
As many, as long as it's not blocked. So it would have to capture.
Oh, wow.
So you would capture.
So I can do the king, right?
Well, after you capture that pawn.
Oh, so if there's something in the path of the king, even though this thing can go up as far as it can, it still has to knock this piece off before it can.
Yes.
Okay.
And when it knocks it off, it stops.
Okay.
Till the next move. All right.
And then he can't go. He can go over one, but he can't go diagonal. Correct? Can he go here?
He could, except for you're preventing it with your attack. So no.
But if I went, or no, hold on a second. But so the king can go here, here,
Where?
here, or this, or sorry, this piece here. It can go here, right?
Except for.
But no, I'm saying, but just
hypothetically, if the rook weren't there, yeah, it could. Yeah.
And then, but same way as going left to right.
Mm-hmm.
And then back, but it can't go. Then it can go diagonal. One space.
It can go anywhere one space. Yep.
Okay.
And now, if you can get your queen right next to the king and supported, it's often a mate in the end game.
When you say get the king right next to the queen,
your queen. I'm sorry, your queen right next to the opponent's king.
Okay. I don't want to go here because he would.
Go where?
No, hold on. The bishop can only go straight, correct?
That piece?
Yeah.
It is a rook, and it can only go horizontally or vertically.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say bishop. But yeah, the rook. Okay, so it can go horizontally or vertically.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But you said the smart thing to do here is to get the queen next to the king?
Yeah. Think about it. How can your queen – what are the two squares your queen could touch the king on? Meaning the square right next to the king. Yeah, that's one.
Yeah, because the bishop could take him if he moved here, right?
The bishop?
Or sorry, the rook.
Yeah, so if your queen went to, what is that, F5, it's protected with the pawn. The pawn's captured diagonally.
Yeah, so if I moved the queen here, he couldn't take this piece because I could use this to take his piece, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so is this the smartest move? This to here?
It would be checkmate, which would mean you win the game.
Yeah.
But the other checkmate would be, if you move there, it's also checkmate.
Move here?
Yep, because where would the king have to go on either move?
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Screwed.
Yeah, exactly. Nice.
I need to download this, and when I'm bored, play it every now and then.
Yeah, play me in daily games.
Because it's definitely learnable.
Oh yeah, it's learnable. I mean, it's a pattern. It's a puzzle.
Well, and it seems like the real important thing.
I got my first hit. Thank you for joining. If anyone, I got
being
two.
Able to, do it quick and
Yeah. I started the way I learned. I did a lot of longer games, and my theory was, just like baseball or anything. Once I get my swing technically correct, I can speed it up. But I think it would be better to do faster games and then slow it down for many reasons. So if you choose to do it, I would be curious how that approach would work. All right, I'm starting work tomorrow, so I probably won't be on seriously until the weekend. Then we'll be 2,000 in Blitz pretty quickly.
So at the start of the game.